and welcome to the first devlog of SCP Bravo. My name is Dante, I am a 3D artist and medic in the armed forces from Switzerland. This devlog series is a mean to showcase the progress of developing SCP Bravo and for answering general and community important questions. In this introduction, I prepared a number of topics to showcase and talk about today. But in short, what is SCP Bravo? SCP Bravo is a PCVR cooperative hardcore horror shooter taking place in the SCP universe. As a kid, I loved to draw stuff in general. It was different for me that my... Oh, fuck! Hello? Yes, hello, I need this file. Hello? In 2018, I started a project in Unreal Engine 4 I called Mirror World, a game where I spent countless hours just fooling around and getting the ropes of development. I had a lot of fun with it and it really sparked my interest as a video game developer. Fast forward to 2020, a really big and crucial year for me. Not only did Epic Games announce Unreal Engine 5, which has had me in awe, but I also bought my first VR headset, which was a crucial thing for my decision to make SCP Bravo in VR. VR captured me like gaming had never before. You set up this weird phone-looking device and suddenly you were in this different world. Not like a flat screen, but being able to look around and interact with the world around you with these weird touch controllers. You truly were in a video game, and I loved every minute of it. I played so many different VR games and I spent hundreds of hours in VR, playing games, having fun with friends and enjoying the next gen of gaming. I went from Mirror World to Project Argus, a VR shooter I spent again countless hours getting the ropes of VR game development. Then, when Argus started to take form, I made one huge mistake, which turned out to be the best mistake. "2023, the year that changed it all. I upgraded to Windows 11 because I wanted to take advantage of the OS and made a huge mistake while upgrading and I lost all my files. My motivation was ruined, I let Argus to die and focused on my 3D art again. With VR being around me and my journey as a solo game developer in the trash, I somehow found my way to the game, We the People. I got very lucky with the opportunity that Drew and his team gave me, and I became a 3D artist working for an indie studio. My dreams and hopes got lit back on fire. It gave me a great insight on video game development, especially for teams that are starting out. My knowledge increased, but so did my desire to create something myself. And now we are in 2024. I have now been using Unreal Engine 4 and 5 for years. There was still a lot to learn, but I got my ropes around it. Then, the engine just clicked in my head. Suddenly, I was able to program mechanics within days which I usually needed weeks for, and even months. Suddenly, the engine made sense to me, and this is where I knew I can do it. Through the work at We the People and getting to know their structure and how things are handled, as well as watching countless devlogs of other developers, I made a decision to create another VR project. My scope was way more realistic on what a solo developer could do, and I started with prototypes, non-VR and in VR, multiplayer, single player, and just the whole pipeline. Born was SCP Bravo. In this topic, I'm going to cover why I chose the SCP universe and show you some games that had huge influence on me when creating SCP Bravo. A long time ago, I stumbled over a fictional universe called SCP. As a vivid fan of Lovecraftian work and horror in general, I was instantly hooked. The idea of this foundation that exists among us right in this moment, fighting and containing paranormal anomalies that we all can stay safe, just fascinated me. Normal humans like us getting sent in to fight monsters beyond their comprehension. The setting was perfect. It combined everything I love with the addition of it having unlimited possibilities. Grimdark atmosphere, specialized methods to fight the SCPs, every location imaginable, and modern military age. Next up we have GTFO. A name that many of my friends still have horrors about, or just get stressed out thinking about playing it. I became obsessed with the game and followed its development every step of the way. I was just waiting to finally get my hands at the game, and then finally it launched. I fondly remember launching the game for the first time only to be greeted with a jump scare. I knew I was in for a ride. Right from the get-go, this game only bursted with dooming atmosphere. The UI, the soundtrack, the sounds and the character screens, everything just showcased for what was about to come. True horror. The first few hours of the game were exactly what I hoped they would be. Pure grade horror, the desperation of being armed yet still having to avoid fights as much as possible, the pure stress and adrenaline of the actual firefights, down to that ever so glooming screen we've seen so often. Game over. To this day, I hold GTFO in high regards when it comes to atmosphere in video games, which gave me the perfect inspiration for how my game is supposed to feel. Next up on the list, we have Dark Souls. Dark Souls is a game that is dear in a lot of players' hearts, and I really love the main gameplay element they have. Enter a place, explore without guidance, and enter the next level through a boss fight. The part that always stuck out to me was the no guidance part. We are always so used to games taking our hands and guiding us through every level. For SCP Bravo, I looked at how I could implement this into my game, and the answer was through changing weather and daytime and random spawns at locations of items and enemies. Ultimately, this means you have your objective and your map, but how you accomplish the objective is up to you and your friends, while simultaneously making each run different than before. Ready or Not is an absolute fantastic game that is all about team play and coordination. A hardcore tactical shooter where every mistake can be your last. What stuck out to me is the emphasis on teamwork. This game is made to be played with friends. Behind every door lingers potential danger. Be mindful of what kind of cover you are hiding behind, or else you can get shot through it. Clear out rooms in a tactical way with your buddies. I knew this is what I needed for Bravo. Now that I have my list complete, there is one more title I want to mention, but the inspiration is more so on my wish list than it is important. Nevertheless, I would love to implement something like Hunt Showdown is a PvPvE extraction shooter with a huge emphasis on sound. The sound in this game is absolutely amazing, and it is what always stood out to me. I knew I want to try and achieve something similar like it, but as mentioned before, it is not a priority on my list. It is just something I really would love to do. With now my list complete, I was ready to work on my concept. But I stood before a huge question lingering over my head. VR or non-VR? It took some time to figure out what would fit best for my game, and after a long time thinking and setting up concepts, I knew the question I needed to ask. How do I want to play my game? And so I set up two concepts to a playable format and played for a bit. It drew me instantly to VR. The interactions, the gunplay, the feeling of being actually in that spot and being the person fighting these monsters, I knew VR was the answer. At the end of the day, I'm making this game for myself and for my friends to enjoy. This is where everything started, and this is also my development philosophy. A game made by a friend for friends to play together. VR essentially changes the rules of development in many aspects. As for an example, you're now dealing with a player that can move his head and arms freely in your game space. He could stick his head through walls to spot items or enemies, or stick his hand through the wall to reach an objective. And most importantly, also comes now the great responsibility of performance. Most people, when they wear a VR headset for the first time, get nauseous from what's called motion sickness. Motion sickness is what happens when you move your body independently in VR from your body in the real world. Because you are in VR, your brain sees the surroundings as your actual surroundings. And if you take a step in VR, but not in the real world, that confuses our brain and therefore makes us nauseous. This is a huge hurdle, as it can render your game not enjoyable and unplayable in an instance. Virtual reality in general is something you have to get used to. After a while playing and in good measured sessions, you develop something we call VR legs. You can now play VR over way longer periods of time without getting nauseous. Basically, the more you play, the better it gets. And on top of that, to help counter the motion sickness and help you develop those VR legs, There are many tools and tricks for us developers on how to minimize motion sickness. But you also have to be very cautious about performance, as you need to hit a certain FPS, or else you will increase motion sickness in your game. This essentially forced me to set certain rules for my development to ensure that I will keep within the boundaries of not creating motion sickness, and also help with the general workflow. Tetris form work is what I call it, and are no set rules for me. That means I develop a wish feature and then test it to see how it performs and how it feels. If it's bad in either performance or feeling, I go back to where the block started to see what needs to be changed in order to make it functional with my other blocks. With this rule set, I can ensure I can hit my goals in a timely manner and also work on the things without destroying any of the work created already, and it will stack together nicely in a Tetris-shaped manner. Other developers out there have already created fantastic different work rules that works for them. These rules right here, they work for me, as I feel comfortable developing in this way. With all that being said, let's look at SCP Bravo's current development progress. Keep in mind that everything you're going to see is at a very early stage and is subject of change. Damn it, not again. Ah, shit. Sorry, give me a second. Dr. Martinez! Dr. Martinez! Yes. Please hand me over the... No, I need the access code to the file. This is really important. Yes, perfect. Thank you. So, where was I? Let's see. 7, 8, 4, 2, 1, 9, 9. Awesome. Okay. At this point of time, I have developed most of the core mechanics and also already reworked a bunch of the mechanics. I will go over each core mechanic and show you the different versions. The core mechanics are essentially the gameplay elements which are the game itself and should be fun and enjoyable without anything else. My core mechanics are as follows: interaction and immersion, shooting, multiplayer. As the game is in VR, I wanted to ensure that the interactions and immersion in the game are fun to experience. For interaction, that means being able to pick stuff up, throw it around, using firearms, opening door, and much more. It's just an example. For immersion on the other side, that means giving the player a fun feeling of being in the game, with full body ICAM movement. For shooting, it was important for me that the gunplay is exciting and fun to use with a big touch on realism. I am currently missing AI, so you will see the gunplay demonstrated in a killhouse training facility. Furthermore, I am using physical projectiles that can penetrate different materials and bounce off surfaces, giving the game again a touch of realism and also potential danger in firefights with your buddies. Last but not least, we have multiplayer. It is in its very early stages, as this is the newest Tetris shape that is being developed at the moment. As you can see from the showcase, everything is very basic, and even if AI is missing as of right now, the fundamentals of the game are there and the game is fun to play. To give you a better understanding of who you are in this game and what you are up against, let me give you a little bit lore information. The SCP Foundation is being led by the O5 Council, an unknown group of unknown beings, but most of them resemble humans. Due to an incident with a very important SCP, a fraction of the O5 Council has gone rogue and founded a new rival foundation known as the Dawnbreaker Allegiance. Since Dawnbreaker has been founded, there have been numerous reports of incidents where the SCP Foundation has clashed with Dawnbreaker in missions to contain SCPs. No one really knows the real reason as to why Dawnbreaker tries to interfere with the SCP Foundation, or its actual goal, as not much is known of the famous incident. Clear is that a much larger number of casualties have occurred because of the rival foundation. This is where the O5 Council has called Program Bravo into life. A new mobile task force not only vetted in containing SCPs, but also combating Dawnbreaker. Through rigorous testing and small operations, the Foundation saw the success of the newly acquired mobile task force and greenlit them for the real fight that is about to come. You as the player are one of these new operators. In short, that means you won't just be facing monster enemies but human enemies as well. I wanted to create a nice dynamic in the fights itself, and with this scenario I can now achieve that. As of right now, there are 2 game modes planned for SCP Bravo. The first one is the Contain mode. You and your friends meet up together in a hub known as the training facility. There you will have the chance to test out different firearms, run ZQB training, customize weapons, and choose your missions. Your goal in the Contain mode is to raid a location and contain the SCP. With the successful containment of the SCP, you are now to extract the location alive in order to complete your mission. Should all of you die, then that means game over and you have to restart the mission. Should you extract successfully, then that will give you rewards in the form of new weapon modifications, as well as a higher security clearance. Higher security clearance means you have now access to new missions with harder SCPs to contain, but you also get new equipment. Raid, contain, extract is the gist of it. There are no save points and no respawns. It is one ongoing run for you and your bodies to survive. Of course, you won't just perish instantly, as you will have different options to either heal up or revive your fallen friends. The second game mode is too early to go in detail right now, but all I can say is that it is an asymmetric cooperative mode called the Commander mode. My primary focus right now solely lies on the Contain mode. If I am satisfied with the Contain mode and it works without any issues, then and only then will I start working on the second mode, so please keep that in mind. The Vault, as I call it, is essentially a wish list of features that I'd like to have in my game, but I'm not 100% sure if they work/fit into the game. The Vault is a very essential and important part of SCP Bravo, as on one hand it gives me a lot of creative freedom, and on the second hand, I never know when the time comes for me to open it again and pick one of the ideas out and finally put it into the game. I really cater to community developed games, as you, the player, are the most important part of this whole journey. I've opened up a Discord server where you can talk to me directly and follow the development. Decide together with other people and me on what weapons/features and more is going to get implemented, as well as get the chance to playtest the game directly and also give me feedback. Currently, I am looking for 3 individuals to playtest the first pre-alpha in 2024 with me. All information in regards to that are found in the Discord. Currently, I am at the pre-production phase of SCP Bravo, meaning till I hit release, it is going to take a while. With the roadmap, you can follow every step of the development and know when private and public playtests are being held. For 2024, as mentioned earlier, I'm looking to create the first private playtest with 3 selected people out of the community. This is to get me a better understanding on how everything works and how different systems experience the game and are affected by the game. The big goal is to hit 2025 with a closed alpha test, but this date must be taken with a grain of salt as development is an ever-changing process. I have thought a long time about how I will approach this game, and the answer is very difficult to give. I have a full-time job and I'm developing SCP Bravo in my free time. With me setting up Patreon, I created an opportunity to leverage this percentage. Every single dollar helps me to lower my percentage on my main job and offer more time for Bravo, but it is not a necessity, as well as no requirement for SCP Bravo to be made. Of course, my wish would be to fully and solely work on SCP Bravo, but in these times that is a very expensive undergoing and I'm not expecting anything out of it. Yet, if you do decide to support me, I wanted to say thank you for helping me getting a step closer to my dream. And now, with everything being said and done, I wanted to say thank you to everyone who took the time out of their day and watched my video. It is not the best, I know, but with time I'll hope to get better at these things. All the links are in the bio, and I do hope to see you either in Discord or in the next developer log. Thank you very much and have a good day.